Call meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Here. 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 Here.
Here. Do we have a quorum? We have minutes from May 14th. Any comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve pending a couple of corrections on page 7 towards the lower two-thirds. They refer to Steve Weber, and again, Mr. Weber, and I believe it was Steve Balich was here and did some research and found that Cool Cities was based on et cetera, and also it goes on about another paragraph down, Mr. Weber, and I think that should be Mr. Balich. Page 8, similar name, fourth one down. It says Steve Weber asked our board to signing up for the resolution to kind of get Steve Balich, and then about two more paragraphs down from there, Mr. Weber, and I think that should be Mr. Balich. So they have the same first name, but the last name is different.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. First case is 6104-S, Manhatten, concerning a special use permit for a truck terminal. Mike.
Thank you, Chairman Weigel. As you stated, the applicant is requesting a special use permit for a truck terminal. This case was remanded by the county board May 16th back to the Land Use and Development Committee to try to further address concerns of adjacent property owners. The applicant did host a workshop for those residents. That workshop was attended by County Board Speaker Brooks and County Board Member Winfrey. The applicant stated that there was no substantial progress made at that workshop. Upon hearing that, the Land Use Department also hosted a workshop in which we only invited the concerned residents. We met with those residents and we really did two things at that workshop. The first thing was we identified what uses would be permitted on the property. As a permitted use, it would not be subject to conditions or other restrictions that can be placed on the use. Examples of permitted uses on the property include warehousing and truck repair. If either one of those permitted uses were established on the property, there would be no restriction to the number of trucks that could be on the property. Another example of a permitted use would be a contractor's shop. In conjunction with that contractor's shop, a storage yard. So an example would be a road construction company like PT Farrow. They could have their office there and they could store all of their heavy equipment on the property. That storage equipment would not be subject to conditions. So we identified the difference between a special use and the benefits of this special use versus permitted uses. We also worked with the residents to identify some areas that can be improved to try to mitigate some of their concerns. And I believe that staff was successful in identifying 3 specific items that could be addressed. And we revised the existing conditions to address those concerns. The applicant has reviewed those conditions and is amenable to them. One condition will require that there is a 100-foot setback for the truck terminal to the western property line. A second condition will require that any areas used for the storage, parking of the trucks is improved with asphalt grindings or pavement. That is designed to reduce concerns regarding dust that could be generated on the property. We also revised a land use buffer condition to ensure that berming is installed along the property line. That'll help mitigate concerns regarding noise and visual blight. So this case is now before the committee. Staff is recommending approval. The applicant is here. I do believe the applicant would like to address some of the conditions, and I'm available for any questions if you have them.
Questions by committee?
How tall is the berm going to be?
There is no minimum height in the condition language. The zoning ordinance establishes condition is revised to establish a minimum height, it will fall back on the zoning ordinance, and that height minimum will be 30 inches.
The petitioner here, would you like to come down? State your name and address, please.
3 Glenview Lane, Lamont, Illinois.
Did you have a question concerning one of the conditions?
Yes, sir. So far, we agreed with every condition what neighbors wanted, and some of those conditions that I put on actually are our ideas about the grinding and the berm and the landscape. And just recently, we had a conversation right before this meeting that one of the citizens said, would you do then a 10-foot berm? And which I said that we would agree on that too. So we pretty much agreed with all the conditions what they had. And
Okay. You had a concern about the number
yes,
of trucks?
then I have concern with the number of the trucks, because when you said units, I did understood that unit is considered semi-truck and trailer as 2 separate units. Well, I thought that hooked up semi-truck trailer is counted as a 1 unit, so I would like to that to be removed, or because I don't want to be in violation by any means.
What if we say 15 tractors and 15 trailers? Would that be acceptable?
That would be acceptable.
Okay.
Is there a way not to put the number, so that way if I have more trailers and less trucks, I'm not in violation again? Because I would be using only the developed part of the property, no matter what, without expanding beyond what is proposed.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
you don't have to turn the mic off. The question that the petitioner is asking, the number 30, you asked if you not put a number on, a limit on the truck. Is that saying that you would like to have a combination of truck and / trailer and or an unlimited?
Well, obviously, the most ideal would be unlimited, so I'm staying within my developed property, I'm not going over anything, and I'm not violating anything. But if we need to put a number, then let's put a number with that. Because like I said, I can have 15 or 2 trailers parked, and I can have 7 or 8 trucks parked there, and then I can have no trucks parked, and I have trailers. So I'll have to literally keep the count of it, God forbid I'll go to 16 or whatever the number will
Well,
be.
you could have 15 trailers and you could have 15 tractors, so you could have a total of 30.
So then any combination of 30 would be acceptable, is that what you're saying?
That would be acceptable.
If you had 20 trailers
So exactly, so if it's counted as different unit, I'm not in violation.
and maybe 10 tractors or something.
Correct, so it's, and the combination doesn't exceed 30.
Okay. You have a question?
Just one real quick question, Mr. Montana. Now, if it was a truck repair, it's unlimited, correct?
If it was a truck repair shop, it would be unlimited, it would be permitted by ordinance. We would not have any conditions in place to limit the number of trucks on the property. The same thing would be set for a warehouse. If it was Colesville Brothers, which is just down the street, distribution center, the number of trucks would not be limited on the property.
So basically, that would probably, there's going to only be a finite number on there anyway, there's going to fit that many on there, and they can't stack them on top of each other, so I would be happy to no limitation on it, because, again, if it was truck repair, it would be unlimited. But again, it's finite number. And if he agrees to do a 10-foot berm, he's going to lose quite a bit of property anyway because of the sloping on that. So
That's correct.
He's going to lose actual footage. But anyway, that was my question. Thank you.
Beth,
I'd like a little more discussion, but I favor an unlimited approach too, considering that you cannot extend beyond your property. And I think this is a clear case of working very well with the existing neighbors and trying to get both things allow you a little flexibility, and like you cited, if it's 15 and 15, sometimes you might find yourself in a inflexible situation.
Mike? Two things on that. Number one, we kind of agreed to 15 last time, and I assumed 15 meant a truck and a trailer, so I could see going to a 30. If we went unlimited, do we have any idea, Mike, what could fit on that property?
I wouldn't be able to give an idea.
Do you know
right
how many
now.
trucks and trailers could fit on there? Could it be 100, 50?
Well, what we're gonna be developing now, I don't think you can fit that many, but we would have that condition, there would be a setback. So this special use permit will not go past 100 feet from the residential area.
So it could be expanded, is what you're saying.
Correct.
That's what
I guess I have to go through the same process again.
County board member Frizzalone, one thing that I can tell you is that the property is roughly 14 and a half acres. Only the western 100 feet of it could not be used for the storage of tractors and trailers. So you probably have 12 and a half, 13 acres of usable property to store trucks.
So we have 12 usable, and how much are we talking about right now that we're going to use?
Right now, they're proposing development of, I'd say, less than 4 acres.
So at least 3 times larger this could be, so it could wind up being 100 trucks, which...
And we have a retention pond too, that we should take a look at.
I go back to, I think we agreed last time that 15 was a good number, assuming it was 2 pieces. So 30 to me seems reasonable.
You can always come back and ask for more if you have to down the road sometime. Beyond the 30. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, does the District 8 Representative, Speaker Brooks, have any comments with regards to this? Is this your district?
Well, I would certainly have to concur with Chairperson Tom in that the limited the number of trucks. I think one of the things that the petitioner here, Valia, tried to do, as well as the neighbors that are here, try to be a businessman and a good neighbor. And I think with that limit, you can always come back to increase if need be. But that's why I asked the question about the combination of trailers and trucks, because if you kept it at a limit, and then if you did grow, you would have to come back before this committee anyway. In other words, I would concur with the limit of the 30.
Okay, any other comments? Any resident have anything? Okay.
There's one, Chairman, there is one.
Like to come down?
Should I stay here? Or?
You can sit there.
Yeah, it's taking a long way. You can go that way.
Oh.
State your name and address.
My name is Patrick McDermott. I live at 1527 Steinley Avenue. I'm at the western border of this property. As far as the unlimited portion that you're discussing, on 14 to 15 acres of property, you can park a lot of semi-trucks. I understand about the 30-inch berm. The gentleman has agreed to a 10-foot berm. Trucks are much taller than that, so we're going to be seeing this stuff anyway. It seems like it's kind of a done deal from what I'm hearing. Some of the concerns that I do have are with the grain storage on site. When Mr. Simkus came by to invite the residents to the open house operation, he himself had stated that, because I made references to what this product was actually used for, that they are transporting. And he made reference that some of it, the byproduct, is used to create the E85 ethanol. And I understand it's not going to be a volatile thing because it's a byproduct that is used in the process of creating E85 fuel. container storage on site, I'm led to believe, as far as it will still be a mobile. If there is a container on the property, it will be on a chassis, is what I'm led to believe. I don't know if that's a fact or not. The dock doors they were proposing on the west side of the building. Would there be any way of possibly putting those on the other side of the building? Because the west side would be facing our residential neighborhood. I guess that's about it.
Okay.
Oh, one other thing, would there be any way of possibly increasing the 100-foot setback? I mean, if that's going to be undeveloped property, as the map showed that they handed out when we went to the open house meeting, 100 feet is good. 300 feet would be 3 times better.
I think you're asking for an awful lot. I think should be happy with 100 feet.
This is
We
not
don't-
next to
we
your
normally-
residence, sir.
We normally require a lot less than that.
I see.
Mike, did you have a comment?
Yeah, Mike, pricing the same thing. Aren't these trucks supposed to be empty when they're on site?
That's what I was going to address.
Yeah.
Yes, the trucks are used for grain storage. Can there be leftovers in those trucks? Sure. One thing to keep in mind is grain storage is a permitted use on this property. So someone could come in, build a grain elevator on the property, and store all the grain they want. That is a permitted use. The second thing I'd like to address is cargo containers. Cargo containers require a separate special use permit to be stored on the property. So if it is a trailer with a container on it, that container has to stay on the trailer. They cannot use the property for cargo container storage, where you usually see the container stacked 3 high. That would not be a permitted use on the property. You have to come back and get another special use permit for that.
I got a question. It's zoned industrial now, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And also, he did agree to a 10-foot berm around the property.
He agreed to a 10-foot berm along the western property.
That's where the residential is.
That's where the residential is.
Okay, so the old expression, good fences make good neighbors. Basically, line of sight, there won't be any line of sight.
What you'll have is a 10-foot berm. The zoning ordinance requires that berms be improved with landscaping.
Okay.
I believe it's a tree spaced every 30 feet, but we will have some vegetation on that berm.
Okay, and he did agree to assume that, build a berm, understanding there's a cost to the berm?
We're going to make it a condition, so they'll have to do it.
Okay, now that berm is going to take up some space because of the sloping of the berm.
It will.
So, do you have any idea offhand?
For every foot in height,
Yes.
the run has to be 3 feet.
Okay, so 10 foot, that's 30-foot wide berm? Okay.
It's only up one side.
Okay,
Because
so
you have
that's
two,
60,
you
that's
have two
60 feet.
slopes. Yeah.
Okay, so now, the 60 foot, how close can he come to the property line?
He has to stay within his property. He could not go into
He
the
can
right
go right
of
up
way.
to the property line?
Correct.
Okay, and it has to be landscaped, they'll plan like that?
There has to be erosion control on it, so it doesn't wash away, and then the ordinance requires some vegetative improvements to it.
Okay. Now, the common sense part of me says, basically, he's zoned industrial now. Basically, it's a business, okay? Businesses generally pay higher taxes. It'd be great to have that in a township to actually pay the higher tax. It does help the residential area because there is a net gain with the industrial. And I'm an advocate of property owner rights. I mean, I don't think we can infringe on businesses so much that basically we make it prohibitive to the business. So I think that from that point of view, I mean, I think a berm is a great idea. If he did agree to that, understanding the cost of it, I think as a property owner, if I lived adjacent to it, I mean, it was static that he did do that. So I mean, I think that's a good solution.
Okay, thank you, sir. Do you have any comments to make, Scott?
I just want to clarify these numbers. Are we talking about a combination of 30, whether it's 15 trailers, 15 trucks, or 20 trailers, 10 trucks?
15 trailers or 15 tractors, both. So you could have a total of 30.
Combination of 30 pieces.
30, yeah.
Trucks or trailers?
trucks or trailers. So I guess what I'm getting at is, can it be 20 to one and 10 of the other?
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be fine.
All right.
No, to clarify some stuff, what we hold is from ethanol plant, when they squeeze out a ethanol from corn, the byproduct is called DGG. It's dry distillers grain. It's just pretty much corn that is squeezed out of the ethanol. We don't hold ethanol as hazmat material. We're not endorsed and we don't do that. We do hold this product in the containers, which is on wheels. And we don't, it's not feasible for us to bring a loaded container and store it in our property because it's too far from the railroad terminal. Now, occasionally we might have it, I don't know, but it is sealed and is ready to be shipped overseas, which means that the same unit, without anybody touching it, will be put on a ship, taken overseas to Asia, which is sealed with the bolt seal and nobody can even open it without special cutters. Now, about storing containers or units, they all will be on the wheels. We're not, like he mentioned, we're not permitted and we're not doing anything where we take off the containers and you stack them. We don't do that. It's not our operation.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, how would that motion read then?
What I would like to do right now is go through the two conditions that we're going to revise. I'll read the first condition in the language that staff recommends. I'd like to see the committee make a motion and adopt that, so it's very clear that the committee approved the language as read by me. The first condition we can address is the berm. And the condition is recommended by staff will state the applicant shall maintain a land use buffer along the property's western property line. This land use buffer shall include a 10-foot landscaped berm in accordance with section 155-12.70-B-2-C of the Will County zoning ordinance.
Okay, can we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Say approve.
Of course, that's the resolution, or the number, right?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next condition that we'll revise is the condition that relates to the number of tractors and trailers on the property. I did review this language with the state's attorney's office. They agreed that it satisfied our intent. The condition will read, the aggregate total of truck, tractors, and trailers shall not exceed 30.
Moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so we have the a motion for a special use permit, type 2 outdoor storage, for a truck terminal with 9 conditions. Have a motion? Motion and a second.
Is that 9 in, that these are in the 9?
Yes.
Correct.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, John. Next case, 6107-S, special use permit for type 2 outdoor display. Mike?
Thank you, Chairman Weigel. This request for a special use permit for type 2 outdoor display is being made by Tough Shed. Tough Shed is a tenant on the property. Type 2 outdoor display will allow Tough Shed to display shed models outdoors for customers and people passing by to see what they have to offer. You see this a lot of times at Home Depot or Lowe's. They'll have an aisle in their parking lot that has sheds that are offered by that company for sale. Staff recommend approval of the special use permit for type 2 outdoor display. Prior to this case being considered by the Planning and Zoning Commission, on June 4th, the Village of Homer Glen submitted a letter of objection to the use. And that letter of objection focused on 3 issues that they had. When staff reviewed that letter of objection, we came forward with 3 conditions that we believe addressed the village's concerns. After the Planning and Zoning Commission, we learned from the Village of Homer Glen that one of those conditions did not fully address their concerns, therefore they are still objecting to the special use permit. The point of contention is that the village would like to see the entire gravel area paved. Staff's condition was that the area that is not directly underneath the sheds displayed would either be paved or topsoil and seed would be placed in that area. One of the reasons why staff recommended this condition the way we did is that these sheds will need to be anchored so that they don't become projectiles during storms. We believe it would be easier for Tough Shed to anchor these sheds in a gravel area versus drilling into an asphalt surface. It's up to the committee whether they revise the condition to adhere with the requests of the Village of Homer Glen or move forward with the conditions as approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Any questions by committee? Right.
Well, Mike, I think you bring up a good point. Home Depot does have sheds, they have them on their sheds.
They do.
Your solution that we provided, you feel that would be sufficient?
I felt it would be. It did not satisfy the Village of Homer Glen.
Mr. Balch?
Mr. Chairman, I live in Homer Glen, and I've been by Tough Shed, and checked it out. And it appears to me that any kind of added expense to that property would be prohibitive to the business, because IDOT is planning on doing raised medians. As of now, we're supposed to go to a meeting tomorrow with IDOT, but if they do what their expansion is talking about, a lot of those businesses are going to have the highway 8 feet from their front door. Tough Shed is in a worse predicament because they're closer up to the highway than the rest of the businesses in that area. So by the village saying what they're saying, yet whatever their reasoning is fine, but in certain circumstances you have to give the business a little bit of leeway. Because these guys, because of, they just bought the building, and I don't think they researched it very well, because there's going to be problematic for people to even come to their store, let alone, where's the road going to be? It's going to be 7, 8 feet, 10 feet from their front door, so they might not have any room to put any sheds, so outside. So I think, when the board considers this, they should take that in mind.
Thank you. Mr. Morris?
Basically, I have to agree with Tough Shed. Sounds like it has a tough road to go, so I think that I'm going to vote in favor of the business. I think we need to, it sounds like it's a business that, like you said, once they put the medium through there anyway, it's probably going to have a real tough go.
Any other questions by committee?
Yeah. Michael, how long is that property? How deep is that property? Is it 800? Is it 800 feet?
It's a very large property, and I can get you the exact acreage.
And they really wouldn't have to put it right up front if they know the highway is expanding. It's not like they're forced to put it right in that front.
They're going to put a divider though, right? The medium strips are.
28-foot wide median.
So nobody will be able to take a left in there.
Correct, unless the state changes. We're trying to get the state not to put raised medians there at all, but I have a feeling they're going to do what they want anyway. And if they do, it'll be a 28-foot wide, 12 inches high barrier median.
And there's all commercial now?
Yes.
If I could real quick address my board member Friswold's question. The total property is 19 acres approximately. With special use permits, you can delineate a smaller area on the property, subject to the special use. In this case, the special use permit will apply to 1.5 acres.
Okay. If there's no other questions, entertain a motion to approve the special use permit for outdoor Type 2 outdoor storage display with the 5 conditions as proposed by staff. Motion by Morris. Second. Howard. Second by Bible. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One opposed. Motion carries. Next case, 6108 MS2B7, map amendment from R3 to I2. Mike?
Thank you, Chairman Weigel. This zoning request has been made to address a violation on the property. The use commenced in 2011 in violation of the zoning ordinance. Again, going through this process will bring the property into compliance and allow the business to continue to operate. The applicant is requesting a map amendment from R3 to I2 on parcel 2, a special use permit for outdoor processing and storage of materials associated with the recycling center and scrap salvage yard on parcel 1 and 2, a special use permit for residence of proprietor, caretaker, or watchman on parcel 2, a variance for maximum square footage per sign face from 100 square feet to 288 square feet on parcel 1, a variance for maximum fence height in front yard from 4 feet to 8 feet on parcel 1 and 2, a variance to allow a solid opaque fence within the front yard on parcel 1 and parcel 2, and a variance from section 8.5-7F of the zoning ordinance to allow for barbed wire adjacent to residential zoning district on parcel 1 and parcel 2. A couple of points I'd like to make about this request. This request was filed in September. So it has been filed under the previous Will County zoning ordinance. On October 1st, we adopted the newly revised ordinance. So this case is under the old ordinance. That's why this committee is seeing the variance request. The second point I'd like to make is the map amendment from R3 to I2 on parcel 2 is due to the business buying out a neighboring property owner. The complaint was submitted by that residential property owner to address and mitigate concerns of that property owner. The company did purchase the property from that individual.
There's nobody else objecting to this?
There has been no other objections received except for an objection from the health department that relates to the fact that they could not locate the septic field and well on the property. Many of the improvements, virtually all the improvements on this property were done without required permits, either building permits or site development permits. So even once we get through this zoning process, if everything's approved, the applicant's going to have to obtain a building permit and obtain a site development permit. In doing so, we'll ensure that the health department requirements are met.
What's the zoning, residential to industrial?
Right now, the property has I2 zoning on parcel 1, parcel 2 is R3. Surrounding zoning is really a conglomerate of zoning districts. On New Lenox Road, you have I-80 to the north. You have a newer business park that was developed by the city of Joliet in New Lenox to the east. And then you have a mix of commercial, industrial, agricultural, residential.
So would you consider this, basically they're running a scrapyard now, it sounds like?
This is a scrapyard. It's all American recycling. The trucks come in, they bring scrap, they get weighed on truck scale, and then the material gets shipped off to the secondary market.
So with the conditions we agreed to today, it would basically be an improvement because there would be fencing up there where you...
There are numerous conditions recommended by staff. I believe that the total, I'll tell you in a second, comes out to 22 conditions. The applicant will be subject to those conditions. It should...
the health department approval for a septic.
Correct. It should improve the site. We have some standards to increase the aesthetics of the property. Keep in mind also that the use is also subject to IEPA regulations, which is enforced by our Resource Recovery and Energy Division.
And they're operating today as we speak.
They're operating today as we speak. They have been operating since they were cited in 2011.
Any other questions, Beth?
Something you said, I just need clarification on. You talked about how when the improvements were done, there was no permitting done.
Correct.
Is this dating back to, a really, really long time ago, or is this the current owner of the property developed without the proper?
It's the current owner, and it dates back 2 to 3 years ago.
Okay.
So there was a previous owner prior to that?
There was, the property was only improved with the industrial building. It wasn't improved with the berming, the truck scale office. Virtually all the improvements were done on the property, including the sign that's subject to the variance was done without permit.
So what penalties are they subject to?
Well, they'll have to obtain permits. also with the zoning request, because it was a violation, the zoning fees were increased 1.5 times. I'd like to go through my recommendations real quick. Staff did recommend approval of all the requests that are before you today, except for the variance for maximum square footage per sign face from 100 square feet to 288 square feet. This request is nearly triple what the zoning ordinance allows. It is a sign located on Interstate 80. It's an important corridor between the city of Joliet and the village of New Lenox. Staff does not believe it is appropriate for that location.
We got one on that one separate.
We vote on all of them, so.
22?
No,
You'll vote on all the requests.
there's 10 variants.
Okay, all right.
The applicant here, would you like to make a statement? They recommended approval.
Staff recommended approval of the barbed wire. The Planning and Zoning Commission denied the barbed wire. It's staff's interpretation of the ordinance that barbed wire is prohibited adjacent to residential zoning districts for safety concerns. When you have an industrial property that shares a common property line with a residential property, it could be harmful to children on the property if it's an electric fence or barbed wire fence. This property is unique in that the residential zoning is to the south across the street and to the west, but there's about a 40-foot gap between that home and where this property line is. So it doesn't necessarily share a common property line with residential property, and that's why staff recommend approval of that variance.
And there's no other amendments?
There has been no other objectors, and no objectors attended the Planning and Zoning Commission, and no other agencies besides the Health Department objected.
State your name and address, please.
My name is Richard Cavanaugh. I'm an attorney. My address is 111 North Ottawa Street in Joliet. I'm here with Mr. Mike Sambon, who is the president of West End Tool and Die, which is the owner of the property. He is also the president of All American Recycling, which leases the property from West End Tool and Die. We appreciate the opportunity to address you. This is a case where they bought the property, they made the improvements, they did not get the permits that they should have gotten when they were going through the building process on the site. They were cited. We came in, sat down, met with the county. We paid the additional penalty because we were correcting violations, and they'll be paying more penalties because when they go for the permits, the appropriate permits, the county requires the additional payments. This is a recycling center, and I think that Mr. Olson is here and could answer any questions you might have. There are 22 conditions that have been placed upon the map amendment and on the special uses, and we have no problem with any of those conditions. A lot of them relate to complying with state statutes and things like that, but there have been no complaints, as far as I know, with respect to the recycling center at all. The only complaint was the next door neighbor. And when Mr. Zambon first called me about this issue in the zoning case, I said, the one thing you have to do is you have to make sure that the next door neighbor is satisfied. And what happened is Mr. Zambon went out and bought the property. And so that's the R3 to I2 portion here. As Mr. Smetana mentioned, the staff recommended approval on everything except the sign. I'd like to really just talk about the sign. Here's a picture of what it looks like or what it has looked like, and the sign, they change the sign periodically, okay? And it is 288 square feet, and that's almost 3 times what your zoning ordinance allows. If you were reading the staff report, you'd see a reference to a state statute. And that state statute is the Highway Advertising Control Act of 1971. And in point of fact, I guess we violate the state statute, but we violate the state statute only because we're violating the county's sign ordinance. The state of Illinois has a statute with respect to signs, advertising signs, on-premises signs. I'm not talking about billboards. Advertising signs that are adjacent to state highways and interstates. And that is the Highway Advertising Control Act. And it says that you will comply with the state statute if you meet the following conditions. And the conditions are that you can't have a sign that imitates an official traffic sign or something like that. The sign cannot exceed 800 square feet. We're at 288 square feet, which is 36% of 800 square feet. It says that the sign can't have flashing lights or moving lights. It says that you must be more than 500 feet away from the next sign like that. And then the final thing that it says is that if a county zoning authority has adopted an ordinance which includes regulations with respect to size, lighting, and spacing of signs, which regulations are consistent with the intent of this act, then the county ordinance will apply. And so that's how we're in violation of a state statute, because basically the state is saying if the county has an ordinance and it's consistent with, but what I'm saying to you is 100 square feet is not consistent with 800 square feet. The state allows 800 square feet. Traffic on I-80, and this is on I-80. This isn't on Lenox Road. The sign is on I-80. Traffic on I-80 is moving at 55, 60, 65, 70 miles an hour between Bridge Street and Cherry Hill Road. And that traffic isn't going to be able to read a sign that's 100 square feet. That's all there is to it. My client tells me that 30% of the people who first stop at All American Recycling have been directed to the site because of the sign. So we're asking that you recommend to the full board the rezoning from R3 to I2 for the smaller parcel, the special use permit with conditions for the recycling center, the special use permit with conditions for the residence of the proprietor or caretaker, and the 3 variances. There's 3 or 4, like 4 variances, including the variance for sign. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Mr. Zambon is here. He'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions by committee? Okay. Mike, do you have any comment? No. Okay. Any objectors to this? No. Okay, we'll entertain a motion for map amendment from R3 to I2 for parcel 2. Motion by Howard. Second by Adamick. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is special use permit for outdoor processing, storage of materials associated with recycling center and scrapyard from parcel 1 and 2 with the 22 conditions. A motion by Howard, second by Adamick. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, special use permit for residents of a proprietor, caretaker, or watchman on parcel 2 with 22 conditions. Motion by Adamick, second by Rice. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. A variance for maximum square footage for sign face from 100 square feet to 288 square feet on parcel 1. Motion. By Frizzalone, second by Howard. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. A variance from maximum fence height in the front yard from 4 feet to 8 feet on parcel 1 and 2. Motion by Bible, second by Rice. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Variance to allow solid opaque fence within the front yard on parcel 1 and 2. Motion by Adams, second by Frizzalone. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Variance, section 8.5-7F, to allow a barbed wire fence adjacent to residential zoning on parcel 1 and 2. Motion by Bible, second by Rice. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you. Next item is Schoolhouse Industrial Park foreclosure. Tom?
This is a small industrial subdivision in New Lenox Township. Letter credit set to expire in August. So, in these cases, we work with the developers to either get the improvements installed or to renew his letter of credit to allow for those improvements to be installed. This is just in the event that either of those options don't occur, then the county has the ability to go in and foreclose on that letter of credit.
Any questions or comments?
I just have a technical problem with the letter, with the spelling of the word statutes. Statues. I'd like to have that corrected.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to approve as amended? Motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we have no other business. I have no report. Committee members, any comments? Director, any comments? Okay, a motion to adjourn. So moved. Motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.